Today I'm on a mission to see if I can hit my longest drives ever with this. What's happening, Panda Nation? Peter Von Panda here. I like to golf, just an amateur, below average golfer. You know, just something I like to do with my friends, have a little fun. But one of the things that I have done over the last few years is shorten up my driver. So I play a little bit of a shorter driver. I'm not that tall of a guy, and it's worked pretty well for me to be pretty consistent, you know, not super consistent, but at least find the fairway most of the time on my drives. However, what I know that does, theoretically, is shorten up my drives, and that's a trade-off a lot of us make. A little shorter, but more control. And one of the things that I wanted to do was just drop some bombs. I've always wanted to be able to do that, but I don't really have the length to do that. So I thought, why not try to build some drivers to see how far I can actually hit it, given all the advances in technology and all of the advantages of a longer driver, etc., etc. So I have in my hands here two drivers that I think will help me see if I can actually get longer drives. Now, I do not expect to play either of these drivers. It's just more of a little fun experiment to see what is the longest drives I can hit. Me personally, just given all the shortcomings that I face in life, right? So first of all, I ordered an off-the-shelf driver that I thought might help me, and this is by Cobra, and this is their Air X driver. This is actually a driver that is generally meant for kind of more mature players, and I ordered it in stock configuration. You can see this is the Air X right here. It says 9.5 degrees and offset. I thought that would be actually important for me. So what you might be able to see here is that the driver head is just slightly offset. It's not going to be super easy to see, but you would normally have the hosel kind of flow into the face here. There's just a little bit of offset, man. I have drivers with more offset than this, but it is pretty minimal. If you did not know this was an offset driver, you might just put this down by the ball and hit it anyway. The thing about the Air X drivers is that they are draw bias. So this little red area right here, I think, is where there's kind of some extra weight, and it looks like this might be carbon fiber, but sounds a little tinny. I don't know that this is going to be the best sounding driver in the world, but I know the Air X is actually a pretty popular product for a lot of people. So what I also like about this is that it's manufactured by a big brand that knows technology, so I'm assuming that there's a lot of technology in this head, even though this isn't their most expensive driver by any means. It is also a glue and hosel, so no adjustability here, which is nice, so that all the weight is down here as opposed to in kind of the technology of an adjustable hosel, their MyFly technology, whatever it's called, right? So between the offset and the draw bias, the heel weighting here, I thought that would help me because I'm not used to playing a full length 45.5-inch driver, and so I have a feeling I'm going to have trouble getting that driver head all the way around in time, and so I think the offset and the draw biasness of the driver is going to help me a little bit. I will also say that the shaft they have here is a 40-gram Ultralite, right? So this is not painted. That's one of the ways I think that they help save some weight here, and this whole driver is something like 270 grams, and the whole point of that is that it's supposed to be like 18 grams lighter than a standard driver, so that people with limited physical strength can still swing it at normal speeds or get the speeds that they can out of it. So I thought, well, if this is built for people with limited strength, it's ultra light, even though it is 5.5 inches longer than my standard driver, hopefully I should be able to move it through the air. Now, I will say that I think I have looked here at the stats, and I think the weight savings does not really come from the head. I still think this is like a 198 gram head. I can't find the stats on that specifically, and I didn't want to take it apart. I think what they do is they shave about 8 grams out of the shaft here, and then on the grip, it's an ultralight kind of rubber grip. I think there's another 10 grams on that because most grips are something like 40, 50, 60 grams. And so between an ultralight grip and the ultralight shaft, I think that's where they're saving the weight, which is funny that they make this whole head that's kind of supposed to be ultralight, but I think it's more about the offset and the technology that's in it that they don't put into the other drivers. All right, so that is the one driver. That's a stock off-the-shelf driver that I'm going to try, and hopefully it gives me some more distance. The next driver that I'm going to show you should be everything that you can put into a driver to make it long. So what I have here is the TPF, which is like Titanium Golf Works driver head. This is just a generic head here. What it has are these little brass weights that you can put in the back. I've actually removed them and put in plastic weights here so that I am removing as much weight from the head as I possibly can. This is right now a 190 gram or 188 gram head. However, what I did is I actually took out the port right here and I hot melted another 5 grams into the head because I wanted some weight in the back and I wanted the weight down low to get the ball up. And I also thought the way they make this out of stainless steel or titanium, it just sounds terrible. It is so loud, and especially when you're hitting this indoors at a simulator, it is awful. If anyone else is around, their ears are going to bleed. So the hot melt also helped quiet this down. In fact, it just sounds dull, thuddy. I don't know that it sounds great. I haven't hit it yet, but it's just kind of a duller, thudder sound now. Now, it also has a glue-in hosel here, so no adjustability. This one is also 9.5 degrees, so it should be kind of what I need, but again, no weight there. I've also put in here a Prolong 45 gram A-flex shaft. I thought, you know, a shaft here that's a little whippy and super light is probably going to help me, especially on a very long driver, because this is not only just a long driver, it is a very long driver. This shaft here is uncut and it is 48 inches long. I don't expect to be able to hit this with any consistency, but if any driver is going to give me max distance, this is the one that's going to do it. Now, if we fly all the way down this super long shaft here, what I do want to show you is that I have actually replaced the grip here with an Enlow reverse taper grip. Now, this is actually a fairly heavy, it's like 80 gram rubber grip here, but it's reverse taper, and just because of how long this driver is, I thought this would help me get all of the paw meat that I can on this driver. And because it's so long and already kind of feels like there's a decent amount of head weight out there and pretty heavy swing weight, that I'm going to need kind of all the advantage here gripping this driver as I can. This is way too long for me, and my height, my hand to floor distance does not justify this in any way, but I thought, well, if I'm ever going to hit a long bomb in my life, an illegal driver like this is probably the only way I'm going to be able to do it. Now, because this head here is an aftermarket head, not very expensive, and the Prolong shafts here are not that expensive, I wonder if I took something like an uncut Autoflex SF 305 or 405 shaft and then put, you know, a driver head that's super light but has all the technology you can think of, something from Cobra or something like that on here, that would probably be even better than this. So, you know, something like that might even be 15 yards longer than this. Now, between this driver and this Cobra Air X, are these going to be any farther than my actual gamer driver? I'm kind of skeptical that they even will be, because I think even if I can connect on these, it's just not going to be that good. And I think to be able to connect the driver to the ball at all, I'm going to have to slow down my swing. So the extra leverage I'm getting with these extra long shafts is going to be offset by the speed that I get just to be able to control a long driver like this. But maybe 1 out of a million shots, I'll be able to set a new all-time personal best on a drive. So let's take them to the simulator, see what we can do. All right, before we go to the simulator, there's one more wrinkle. I just got this. It's the Free Flex shaft. This is a shaft that claims to do everything that the Autoflex shaft does, including be pretty whippy, but has none of the drawbacks, including the higher price and the fact that it's not as finicky with heavy swing weighted drivers. So what I have here is a raw uncut shaft for the 90 to 110 mile per hour swinger, and I think this is like 46.5 or 47 inches uncut here. But I'm gonna go ahead and get this prepped for my Ping G430 Max driver and then get it gripped. I don't know how long I'll play it. Maybe I'll just play it in its illegal super long length like this and just see if this super whippy Free Flex driver shaft with the highest technology head in the business is actually going to be the longest driver too. So we've got now 3 drivers that are in competition. Unfortunately, because of lengths, I think none of them will be longer than my gamer driver, but we'll see. Let's try it. All right, so the first thing I'm going to hit here is the Cobra Air. I think this is the Air X off-the-shelf driver, meant to help you get improved swing speeds here, just because of how light it is. So let's just hit it and see if I can actually put this thing out there at all. Oh my gosh, that was a sky ball. All right, went 200 yards, but oh my God, I'm getting way under him. A little offline. So switching over to this Lightspeed driver, lightweight head here, very flexible pro launch shaft here, only 45 grams, and it is designed to be excessively long, 48 inches, illegal. Man, all that extra length on the driver really doesn't seem to equate to much. All right, and as promised, the Ping G430 here on the Free Flex shaft that is not trimmed at all. So this is illegal, 48 inches. I don't expect to be able to hit this worth a darn, but we are going to try. Oh my God, that was straight. What? All right. A little slicey on that one. It'll still play. Holy smokes. It's longer than is legal, which makes it harder to hit. But, man, the initial results are pretty impressive with this. All right, everyone, back from the simulator, and I had a chance to go ahead and process the data here, and I guess I'm surprised, not surprised, because one of the things that I know is that a 45-inch driver, kind of your standard length driver, is super hard for me to hit. And I guess what I have always been playing with here over the years is a shortened driver, and I get pretty comfortable with it, and I think, man, if I add a few more inches, I can eke out some more distance. So it is hard for me to hit a 45-inch driver, so it's going to be hard for me to hit a 48-inch driver, but not all these were that long. But I think I had some interesting results, so you want to see them. What did we hit for long drives? And I'm only going to show you the longest numbers here, because the averages are pretty bad. The consistency with some of these drivers was just abysmal, so I'm showing you really the best shots that I could eke out with each of these drivers. But in last place, with a longest drive of 225.8 yards, was my 48-inch long Pro Launch 45 gram shaft Lightspeed driver. Just a generic driver head, and I think it was like 190 grams. So that's why I thought, a long shaft with a light head, keep the swing weight as close to a normal driver as possible. Maybe I can hit it. 225.8 yards just is not particularly great for the longest shot I could get with it. Now, in the next spot up, 226.6 yards, the 45.5-inch Cobra Air X. This was actually surprising to me because, one, it's lighter, so that swing weight should feel a little closer to what I'm playing, and it's not super long. 45.5 inches is kind of what you get off the shelf, and I thought I would actually be able to hit this, and I did hit some decent shots. It's got all sorts of tech that is supposed to help you. Tech. It's got an offset face, light shaft, so the fact that my best shot with this was 226.6 yards kind of surprised me. I kind of thought maybe I would reach 250. I just thought maybe I would be able to with the driver. But that's an off-the-shelf driver, and so if you're looking for extra speed and you're using a 45-inch driver anyway, maybe this could help you. The longest drive I had of the day, and I showed you, I think it was actually my second or third hit, at 250.1 yards, was the 48-inch Free Flex shaft Ping G430 Max. Now, this Free Flex shaft is the regular shaft, so I think they call it like their 40 series shaft, so it's not their super soft, but it's not the super hard one either. And this is the Ping G430 Max driver head, not set to draw or fade, just in the neutral position. This one was really surprising to me because I thought a real whippy shaft, super long, a driver head that is full head weight, it would be hard to hit, and right out of the gate, it actually hit some pretty long bombs. Now, I kept hitting this, trying to stretch it out, and some of those shots got pretty squirrely, both left and right. So some of them looked pretty ugly. But I think maybe the whippiness of the shaft helps you time a shot even when the shaft gets longer. So you just kind of feel where it is a little bit more maybe. So I'm not sure why that worked, and it was right out of the gate. Some of the best shots were really the first, second, third shot there. So that was kind of surprising me. 250.1 yards, not super long. My club head speed is in the high 80s usually. You know, if I'm really going at it after a long day and I've got everything timed in, maybe I can get the hips into it correctly and eke out a little more. But that would actually be a fine drive. If I got 250 yards on the golf course in real life, I would be super happy with that. Now, the question here is, how does this compare to my gamer driver, a 40-inch driver? So I was hitting that too. That actually had a long drive of the day, same day in the simulator, 242.3 yards. And this is a 40-inch driver, so 5.5 inches shorter than standard. This is also on the free flex shaft, but it's on the 30 series, so the more A-flex, regular flex, not the one that I was using on the 48-inch ping driver. So a little softer even, 40 inches, with the Ping G430 Max driver head set to neutral position. And so what you can see here is it's 7 or 8 yards shorter on the Max drive. But what I love about this driver is that 242 is actually only a little bit longer than my average drive. So my average drive with this setup is 237. That's pretty reliable. I can get that in the real world. I can get that in the simulator. So the fact that, you know, when I'm really going at it and I'm only getting 5 more yards means that I can usually be decently consistent right around 237. So I can be pretty consistent at 237, or I can give myself that upshot of 250.1 yards and probably go OB 8 out of 10 shots, have a really bad shot 1 out of 10, and maybe one decent shot 1 out of 10. So the fact that maybe I can hit 7 out of 10 fairways with my free flex 40-inch driver just means that I'm not going away from the gamer. You know, even though I feel like, hey, you can add 5 inches, 8 inches, and get more speed, you certainly can. Man, I just think you have to slow down so much, you have to think about the timing, you have to work at it, especially if you don't hit it a lot, that you just don't have the consistency, and the extra yardage is so sporadic and so minimal that obviously I'm going to keep playing my driver. I am experimenting with a slightly longer driver, a 42-inch driver. So far, I have not had any better results with that than I do with my 40-inch. So, like I said, I've been really happy playing with my driver. Now, I will say that I'm a short guy. I have longer arms that reach all the way to the ground. So, really, the most important measurement for drivers, for most people, is the floor to hands distance. And so that's really what kind of determines how long your driver should be for most of us. And so you may not have the same results, and if you're short and squat and long-armed like me, then you might benefit from this. But I was just surprised. I was just surprised that the Cobra Air X or my home-built 48-inch Pro Launch Lightspeed driver weren't giving me even the same distances as my gamer driver. You know, that even the longest, best shots that I had with them just weren't getting me any better. So I feel like there's this bell curve in terms of length of driver and distance and accuracy, and for everyone it's going to be a little bit different. But if you are suffering from consistency with your driver, dude, I would definitely recommend experimenting with the length of the shaft, because man, what a difference that makes. Now, I will tell you, because of my experimentation with this, lots of other things have to change too. Sometimes the head weight of the driver, sometimes you have to put in some heavier weights or weight it a little differently. Sometimes you have to change the loft because you're not getting an upward angle of attack, so maybe you need more loft on the driver. You know, I've tried a lot of different configurations, so there's a lot of other things that you might have to tweak other than just shortening the shaft. But just shortening the shaft an inch or 2 or 3 even might actually yield you some pretty amazing results. So anyway, in my quest to see what the longest possible drive I could get, this is what ended up happening. Now, I am going to keep searching here because I would love to have 250-yard drives on the golf course in the real world on average. So that's really my personal goal. So still working to get there, and I have some tricks up my sleeve that might help with this, including a golf lesson coming up as well. But a couple other things that I'm testing here, so I will keep you informed on those. But if you are interested in getting the longest drives possible, a shorter club might be the answer. If you want to pick up any of this stuff or some of the other golf stuff that I really love on this channel, I'll put links to it in the description below. Peter Von Panda, out.
discover more and explore so much deeper.